So our topic for tonight for the large group time is when your kids won't listen.
Nobody can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
Today to a T.
For kids, especially kids that have had any either difficult pregnancy or complex trauma of some type, you're stuck in the house now for what, 6 weeks, 5 weeks? It can be a lot of stress, and sometimes it can get really frustrating, and everybody's at each other. You want them to do what they want to do, what's good for them, and they won't do it, won't listen. So anyways, a timely topic. I wanted to bring and introduce to you Ellen May. She's the massage therapist at Canyon Lakes Family Counseling Center. Hi, Ellen.
Hey.
And she's an incredible story, and there's a couple of things that happened in her family's life that kind of just knocked my socks off. Because one of them, both of them, I think that Ginny and I both would have had a very hard time doing what she did. And what she did ended up really changing the course of her family and herself and her kids. And I think it took a lot of courage. And anyway, so we want to talk about that story tonight. Now, we're going to talk about it's a story, and at least at this point, her kids are all adults now. They're like 18 and 19 and 20 or something. They're up in that late teens, early 20s range, Indian high school kind of time frame. And so at least for what we can say now, it seems pretty successful what's going on. At least that her kids are going in the right trajectory. And so this is a success story in my book. But I always hesitate to share success stories, because a lot of times what we do as parents of kids who need some extra supports is commiserating with each other about how I feel like a failure, how my kids aren't catching up. There's all these hard things, and we need to be here for each other with that. I also want to be here for each other for successes and hear those good stories, because hopefully my point in bringing it up is never to make you feel bad about yourself because my kid's not doing that well, but to bring it up to say there's hope. And maybe this stuff will work for you, maybe it won't. Well, let's face it, probably it won't, but might get lucky, like whatever. No,
That's encouraging.
You tend to be a pessimist after years of doing this. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to bed now. Bye.
The
show is over.
This is less a how-to. This is really not a how-to. This is just more of a hear an inspirational story, and we want to celebrate with Ellen and her family for how well it's going. And also, then, but I just nobody's allowed to. Okay, I'm not going to let anybody feel guilty that your story is not where hers is right now. Okay, so is that agreed that we tell the story, you just won't feel guilty, you won't feel bad, nothing like that? Okay. So, Ellen, let me set the stage real quick. And that is, I saw this, especially one of your kids. You've adopted a few, but one of your kids was just always being really mean to you. It was horrible. And today it's really wild to see him close to graduating from high school. In fact, it was a thrill. The coronavirus is the best thing that ever happened to him, because he has a really hard time with school. It's a stressor for him, like out the roof. And everybody's just doing what they could to kind of get him through the year. And now he doesn't have to go back, and he's just thrilled. And he's going to graduate. He's going to do it. And he's closer to you than he's ever been. His heart is melting, going in a good way, and he's just doing remarkably well. Okay, so it's kind of the story, but that isn't where it started. So Ellen, why don't you give us, there's these two things that you did I thought were astounding. And I want to talk about those along the way, but tell us a little bit of the history. How did your family come to be? And tell us about your family history.
So we adopted 4 boys. 3 were from our full biological brothers, and they were almost 3, 4, 5. And then the older of the 4 was about 7. And so life was going on, and I would notice that things weren't quite right, but when I would talk to other parents, it was like, oh yeah, my kid does that, or oh yeah, that's normal. And I just kept thinking, no, this isn't quite right, but I wasn't reading anything that would give me any insight to that. So fast forward several years, our family went through a very horrific time.
And how old were your kids around that time?
So they were like 12, 13, and 14, and 17.
Okay.
And because the 3 younger ones are so close in age, it was also that puberty was setting in for all of them. And so everything just kind of exploded. So we had a traumatic event, and it just kind of domino affected
Mhm.
all the way down from there.
So perfect storm of puberty plus all this stressor. And so now all these trauma behaviors were coming out from a lot of your kids at the same time.
Yes.
So yeah, been there, anybody been there where it's just kind of hell and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah. And so we just we're pretty much in survival mode, trying to get through all the changes, all the, we were just in such a place where we didn't know how to navigate any of it.
And this is around the time of where we met you. I mean, you lived not too far from us, a few blocks really. And we got to know you during this time. And during this time, I remember seeing the one kid that they're talking about in particular, who's a senior now, was incredibly mean to you. Tell me about that.
Yeah, really, he was just angry, hurt, low self-esteem, was just going off the wall. I just angry.
Yeah, he didn't like you very much.
Defiant. Yeah, did not like me, did not listen, didn't want to do anything I said, didn't want to help, you name the didn'ts, and that was how it went.
I literally watched him throw things at you. And he would tell me stories of like trying to lock you in the car and like poking you kind of a way that seemed like it might be fun, but would cause you some physical pain. I remember seeing these things at that time. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Anything that he could do to, just kind of lash out. I mean, he never inflicted, physical harm, but definitely angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this time, you were reeling from all the stuff going on in your family at the time. He was not doing well. And fast forward again to about the beginning of high school for them, a year and a half later after this, kind of going through a couple of years of this very hard time, right?
Right.
Something significant happened here that I think this is the first really courageous, amazing thing that you did that I'm not sure I could have done. Tell me what happened there.
Yeah, so I had pretty much come to the end of my rope. I was done. I felt like I was trying to invest more in him than he was willing to put out. There was no appreciation. He didn't like anything I did, said. I couldn't do anything right. He was critical, and I was just done. So instead of leaving, like I had packed my bags many times in my head, I went to him and his brother and said, here are your medications. Here is your bus pass. Don't ask me for anything. You're pretty much, you figure it out. Get to school, get to wherever you need to go. And that was about it. I just really laid it out there and said, I'm not gonna do this anymore.
Is that because you're quitting?
No,
Why?
I wasn't quitting. I think I needed space, and I needed him to understand that he couldn't do this. They couldn't treat me like this and get away with it and still have me do nice things for them, take them places or play games, just whatever it might be. Yeah, I was just done.
Do you think, were you worried at that point that people would look at you and say, she's not a very good mom? Or were you worried that people were going to be like, your kids were going to go get into a lot of trouble because you were just basically withdrawn from sort of the hovering around and, putting the fences in place and trying to keep everybody doing the right thing? You were done with that. Were you worried you're going to get judged, or you were worried your kids were going to fail?
No, they were already not doing well. So, and I wasn't getting any awards for, Mother of the Year. So why keep doing I mean, it was just insane.
Mhm.
And I wasn't thriving.
Right.
And so I figured, what do I have to lose?
Mhm. Right. Did you think that this would be a good thing for them, or did you, I mean, this, that, because it's, yeah.
I think part of me thought, if you don't like the way I'm making decisions, then you make them and see how they turn out.
There you go. Let you feel your pain. I'll let you feel the pain of your own consequences and just let you try it out.
Yeah.
Mhm. You didn't do that when they were 8.
Yeah, and fortunately, they were older and they knew how to get around the city on the bus. They each had a cell phone. So I knew if they needed help and they were in trouble, they had a way to get home,
Mhm.
or they could contact the grandparents even.
Right.
So, I didn't just cut them off.
Right.
You still fed them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And you weren't particularly worried with these particular kids of getting into the wrong crowd and doing permanent damage or to their lives at all?
Yeah, especially the youngest one. He was too afraid to go out at night, so I knew he wouldn't be sneaking out. He would just much rather be home,
Mhm.
hibernating in his bedroom.
Mhm.
So I knew that he would go to school.
Yeah.
We only had really one requirement: go to school and graduate. However you want to do that, however that looks for you, just get it done.
And I think that's a really hard thing as a parent to do, because I know for me, like, I wanted my kids to succeed so much more than they did, that it was like I kept trying to make it happen and make it happen and make it happen.
Mhm.
Right. And I think that was one of the big turning points, especially for our youngest, is when I stopped really controlling things, making it happen in the way that I thought it should happen, in the timeline that I thought things should happen.
Mhm.
So and it just gave him a chance to, make his own choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a brave move. It sounds like it was born partly out of I was just done and partly out of what I'm doing now is not working. So I may as well try something else. And certainly
Right.
there's wisdom in that. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I was angry. I
Mhm.
would just, and I didn't really understand so much, like I do now, about emotional regulation. And if I'm not regulated, then he's not going to be either. And if he's not able to change, then I have to be, because I'm supposed to be the sane one, right?
Well, I think the hard part about what you did was you kept your guns. I mean, for me, I think if I'd have just said, okay, well, if you're not going to do it the way that we're doing it as a family and you want to suffer the consequences, that's fine. But then when they didn't get the room clean, or they were the only one not raking the yard, or they were the only one, they were continuing to do all these things, I think it would be such a hard time to just finally be truly let go of that control. I think that's what would have been hard for me, but you did it.
Yeah.
And spent those next year and a half or so just kind of, you said, working on you, be the one that, if there's going to be some change, if it's not going to be him, it's going to have to be me.
So tell us a little bit more about that time. Like, what you said you were working on you, like what were the things, or like what kind of practices did you put in place, or what kind of things did you do?
So yeah, a variety of things. I exercised a lot because, and not anything, I wasn't in the gym pumping iron or anything, but movement was really important to me. It just helped me feel better. Keeping a gratitude journal, reading a lot about, just how to connect behaviors. I watched things that were peaceful to my own brain. I didn't watch the news. I didn't read about things that were traumatic. I just watched and read things that gave me peace, and tried to get back into doing things that were just for me, because I had really lost a lot of myself as the years had gone by, just working on their own stuff. And I stopped really taking care of me.
So a year and a half or so of that, you're feeling pretty good. You've done a lot of that stuff. You decide to go back to grad school, or go back to school and get your recertify as a massage therapist, which you've done before, right?
I had, yes.
Yeah. So now enter into that kid that had been so mean to you, was really struggling with school.
Yeah. So just probably a little bit prior to that, I had started doing just a little bit of rubbing lotion on his feet, see if that was something that he would enjoy, and he did. And um, so I started with that, and then during school we had to practice on people. So I asked if he would like for me to practice on him, and he said yes, and that went really well. Um, and then the more I read and started understanding about massage and how it really helped with anxiety and bonding, I was like, oh, I mean, this seems like something that he could really benefit from. So I asked him if he would like to just try, and if he didn't like it, that was fine. But let's just try getting up in the morning before school, and I'll just give you a 10-minute massage. And so, arms, legs, head, tummy, back, 10 minutes. And he liked it.
Okay.
And
Now,
he looked forward to it.
now that's the second amazing piece to me. I cannot tell you, well, how even in our family, sometimes you've been so mean to me for so long, I don't know that my heart really wants to extend myself, to put myself out there for more abuse. I mean, I don't want to say abuse, because it's not like they're doing it on purpose. I know it's stress behavior and it's just hurt, but
it's still hard.
It's hard.
And I don't care how healthy you are after that much rejection and pushing away and unkind behavior. It's really hard.
What was going on inside of you at that point? I mean, how did you decide, it was like, okay, let me spend some intimate massage time with my son every morning and see if I can help him make it through the day? I mean, just let me sacrifice to myself and put my heart out there so that he can abuse it, hurt it later, just so that he can make it through a school day. What's going on inside you with that?
I think the only thing I can really think of is a couple things. One, I had just been working on myself so much so that I could be in a space where I wasn't so offended by, the stuff he would throw at me. And I think by then we were also, I had lightened up as far as being able to joke around with him. And when he would say things like, I could have gone to the moon and back before you got done with that. And I would say, well, at least, or, to Jupiter. And then I could see him kind of chuckle. And I was starting to identify how he played, how he tried to be funny. And sometimes it wasn't always appropriate, but when I played along with it, or when he tried to, stand in my way and block me from getting into the room, I would tickle him, or I would say, oh, I guess you just need a hug, and, start kissing on him, and he, stop.
Is it fair to say then that when he would block your way, what he was really trying to say is, I want to connect with you right now?
Yes, I think for him it was. And I always would just get infuriated. Why, it was maddening to me. Get out of my way. And once I realized, okay, that's not working and it just makes things worse, I'm going to try this other thing where, and I think it was you that said, well, maybe he's just saying that he wants your attention. And so I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, then he's really going to get it. And it worked, because a lot of now where we are today, when he does that, I'll give him a hug, and he'll just put his head on my shoulder and he'll lean in. And one of the first things he does when he comes home from school, or when he did, is come see me and get a hug.
Nice.
So
huge. That's really huge.
I really had to switch how I thought playfulness and, appropriate behavior had to look.
You were interpreting what he was saying because he wasn't very good at saying it.
Not
He's
at
saying, I
all.
want to connect, Mom, but he was doing it through all these really things that hurt you. Okay. So once you learned the language and you interpreted it for him, it started to go well. You started to be playful with him, and then he would connect in more healthy ways because you met him in his unhealthy ways and then kind of brought him along. So you connected through both being playful and then through this decision just to every morning, every school day, to make him feel better.
Yes.
Did
And
he see the benefit?
I was just going to say,
Okay.
it took a long time, but he did say one day, it doesn't help, for all day, but it does help for a while in the mornings to get in, I think, just to ease into the day. I mean, those are my words, not his, but he did say it helped, for a while, not all day. But what I think it helped more with was our connection, our emotional connection, and being able to not be angry with him all the time.
Hard to fight with somebody. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because one of the things that happens a lot of times when you massage someone, you are relaxed as well, especially in a short period of time like that, So, yeah.
Okay. And well, it's an amazing story. I mean, and I think that while we haven't seen the end of it, I always define success as the trajectory we're on, and he's definitely right on the right trajectory. And I admire your courage to do what you did, and wisdom, I guess. Maybe you got lucky. Maybe it's just that you were wise and stuck to your guns, and you did a good thing. So
lots of prayer, lots of praying about what do I do with this kid.
Right.
And I think some of it came just from, God wants good things for us. And yeah.
I just think it's ironic when I know I've been there, when we get stuck in trying to control our kid and make him do the things that we want them to do so they can be healthy. It seems counterintuitive, but when you let go and backed off and allowed the relationship, the attachment to grow, and him be able to just say no from time to time. I mean, basically, anyway, you did that, which seemed risky, but it paid off because you've gotten what you wanted, him growing on that trajectory. I don't think he's where you would say you would be. You wished more for him, I think, even today, but he's way better than maybe you would hoped.
Oh, he's so much more stable now.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other big things is allowing him to say no. He says no to everything.
Yeah.
So my comeback to him was, in the beginning, I would just be furious. What do you mean? I asked you this, you're not being respectful. And then I said, okay, that's not working. So I'm going to go the opposite end. And I would just say, tell him something to do. And then he would say, no, I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, okay, great. Thanks for doing that. I'll see you later. Love you. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And after enough times of that and seeing that he would actually go and do it, it was like, okay, I can adjust to this. I may not like it. Mm-hmm. I'd like to hear, yeah, sure, okay, no problem. I don't hardly ever get that, if at all. It's always no. But now it's kind of no because he wants to be funny.
But then he'll do it anyway.
Oh, yeah, he will.
So,
or he'll
last
say,
question.
or he'll say, I'm only going to do, I'm only going to rake up enough leaves to fit in one bag. And it's like, okay, sure, yeah, that's fine. And then he does 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the things, the reason that works is that we don't realize sometimes when we're trying to make our kids do what in our view is best for them or good for them. A lot of these kids are so sensitive to that they take that as criticism, like there's something wrong with me, you don't like me. Even our little guy who didn't have as much trauma as the older ones, if he gets in trouble, you don't like me. That's their automatic response. So I think sometimes when we
Mhm.
kind of take a step back, they don't feel as criticized, even though we're not trying to criticize them, but they take it as that.
Right. And I think he felt criticized a lot because I was always trying to correct and train
Right.
and not give enough leeway to,
Yes.
just say no. Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing that story with us, Ellen. We're gonna break into small groups in just a second, but I do want to mention that Ellen, she teaches. We're not trying to sell anything here. We're just trying to serve. But she teaches massage, infant massage, and pediatric massage to parents through our office, and so we're going to make one available. A little link to a mini training that she did on 3 different strokes you can use. They'll come out when we publish this article about this topic in the next day or 2.